reckon I'm mad?
Welcome back. It's another Creaky Bloody Gamers battle report. Let's get on with it.
Alright, welcome to round 2 of our fun 2-game day at the Combat Company. In this scenario, as you can see, we've got diagonal deployment, and there's 3 secondary objectives in the middle there, which we totally ignored during the game. I think they might be important in a more competitive environment, I guess, but we couldn't be bothered scoring them as we went along. We just played the game out anyway. So, I'm not a big fan of secondaries. Maybe if the table quarters or something at the end, if you find out if you've won at the end of the battle or something. Anyway, we're facing a Chaos army. He's got a couple of giant spawns, which are like giant yaks or something. So they are Chaos army from the north, come to invade the Orc homelands. Or maybe the Orcs are going up there to invade them in their snowy north, I guess. Not sure. Anyway, that's the deployment. We had to deploy in a big long line there because the Orcs don't quite fit on the table. And we'll have a look at his army in more detail. But I think he's got the 2 giant spawns and he's got a heap of knights. He's got 2 standard core knights and he's got a big unit of chosen knights. And he's got a sorcerer. I don't know if he's level 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. And, well, here I have a look at the... he's got some hounds on that flank. He's got a big unit of chaos warriors. And he's got a bunch of magic resistance everywhere. I think that's an exalted on a demonic mount. And there's his mighty yaks as chaos spawns. And they're the chosen in the front. More knights behind. Another yak. And some more Chaos Knights, Hounds, and some Marauders out on the flank. And the Marauders have just got Sword and Shield. Alright, and then this is my combat unit of Night Goblins. So I've got my 2 little bosses there with great weapons. And the War Banner, the Great Keef on his Wyvern. Some Savage Boys deployed behind a unit of 20 Night Goblins, because I just ran out of room to put everything, so I've had to deploy in depth in places. More Night Goblins behind the Black Orcs, the Arrow Boys, and more Savage Boys out on the other flank. So that's the deployment. So Chaos, as usual. The problem with Chaos, they've got no shooting. I think his Sorcerer had a magic missile. So Chaos win the roll-off to go first, and they just... marching forward. That's all Chaos can do on turn 1. March forward, get into a position to charge us on turn 2 if they can. And he's moved up a bit close with these knights, so the Great Keef is tempted to charge those knights there. My Savage Boys aren't close enough, and I'm going to cast... I've got Evil Sunshine and I've got Here We Go, and so I cast Here We Go. The Great Keef decides to charge the knights, and I had a long bomb charge with Here We Go. I could have charged the chosen knights on the hill, so I went for it with the Black Orcs. They needed like a 13-inch charge or something. I needed to roll pretty well. I got close. I just needed one more pip on a dice and I would have charged the chosen knights on turn 1 with the Black Orcs. Anyway, the Great Keef's got aggressive there and he's charged into the knights. He's going to get just kill the champion, but probably still lose the combat. That's the way it goes these days with big things charging into the front. Yeah, so Here We Go got the Black Orcs in a bit of trouble. So they're probably going to get charged by the chosen knights next turn. Although I have positioned the Night Goblins as far forward as possible, so they can send some fanatics through the chosen knights. And I started shooting at his Exalted, and I started shooting at the Chaos Spawns. So far, my Strength 3 shooting might have knocked 1 wound off his Exalted champion, but nothing else so far. So it will be up to the fanatics.
Turn 2.
Alright, so we're into turn 2, and it's the time for the fanatics to do their job. I do have 8 fanatics in this list, which might be a bit over the top. So his Marauders are going to charge in there. I'm going to send 2 fanatics this way to try and help out the Great Keef, who's struggling with those knights. And the other fanatic's going to go through the Marauders there. And then his chosen knights have got the Banner of Rage, so they have to charge. And then I've got all these fanatics to send through them. Even with their 2-up save, we're going to make a bit of a mess of the chosen knights. I think I actually shot one down with strength 3 bows at one stage. So he's lost a couple, and then the fanatics are going to get them down to only about 4 left. So at this point, when they go in, he needs the spawns to get in as well, but the spawns sort of lag behind a little bit. And so the one to the right of the knights doesn't make it in, and the one I'm pointing at there is getting shot with my poison arrows. Poison's been nerfed a bit, and only shooting in 2 ranks. Right, then here my mighty combat goblins who forgot to throw their nets beat up the marauders, so that was good for me there. And the Great Keith's still fighting those knights. The knights will win that combat again. I think it's a draw and he wins because he's got a musician. So the Great Keith just gives ground, luckily. And then here he's only got 4 knights left. And because I've got the big red raggedy banner, puts the Black Orcs up to weapon skill 5, which makes it hard for him to hit them. And so the Black Orcs are going to break them. And you can see my Night Goblins fighting over there in the distance. The Great Keith struggling to get rid of these knights, but he will eventually. And the Black Orcs beating up the Chosen as he's moving his Exalted. And I know he's an Exalted or a Chaos Lord, but anyway. And then the Chaos Warriors are moving up. And that's a good picture of his yak. Fantastic models. And he's got... So there's the mighty combat goblins have beat up the marauders, and they didn't fail to chase them. But they've got some hounds to go after next. So I actually did like the little combat goblins. They can fit into narrower spaces than the orcs. That's the problem with the orcs and such big bases. They're hard to get in anywhere. So there's the Great Keith. There's only 4 of those knights left, but the knights win the combat again and push him back. So at least he didn't break. But normally, with the challenge and everything, he would have beat them up easier. So the version 1.5 rules means that those knights don't just get wiped out because of the overkill in the challenge. I think the Wyvern strikes first with his stinging tail and his claws, so the Great Keith never gets to fight with his axe in a challenge. And there's the Banner of Rage Chaos Chosen. They lose to the Black Orcs. And they run away, and they have to run through the Fanatic again. The Black Orcs restrain, and so there's a big yak about to attack them. Giant Chaos Spawn yak of Nurgle, and he's got reserve knights coming up there. The Great Keith gave ground, the combat goblins are fighting, and then may have skipped ahead here a little bit. You can see here that my frenzied Savage Orcs had to charge his, I think it's an Exalted or a Champion, anyway, they had to charge him. I do have my boss and so on. Oh, and here, that's showing here that my Poison Araboys shot down and killed one of the giant yaks, the Chaos Spawn. So that was pretty lucky. Poison shooting is still pretty good. And so his spawn eventually gets into the Black Orcs. The Great Keith has turned around to face them. So there's his spawn in there fighting the Black Orcs. And the Black Orcs are going to kill the other spawn. So I was pretty lucky with a bit of shooting, getting some wounds on the Chaos Spawns. And then the Black Orcs are going to finish them off. Then this combat here, I've got my Shaman and my Big Boss in this unit of Savage Orcs. And they've been drawn in. They couldn't beat up that Exalted Champion. And so they're going to fall back in good order. So that combat's going to go on a little bit. And the Warriors and the Savage Orcs there are going to fight over a few rounds. And there's the Black Orcs. And they're fighting in 2 ranks against that Chaos Spawn. And so the great weapons come through and we get rid of another giant spawn. So the boys have done okay. They've got the Savage Orcs at the back there trying to get through. So this combat goes over a couple of turns and the Warriors are having the better of it. Until when he falls back, when I fall back in good order, his Chaos Exalted Champion is out there in the open and the Araboys shoot him down as well. So they're doing pretty well, the Araboys. Oh, the Shaman's in there. The Shaman's in with the Araboys, actually. So it's just the big boss in with the Savage Boys. And then my Night Goblins over there are beating up Hounds. They're going to get charged in the flank by the Marauders. And then the Black Orcs are going to have a great day here and finish off that spawn. Okay, then the mighty combat Night Goblins beat up the Hounds, and they fail to hold back, and they pursue 2 inches. So they're going to get hit in the flank by the Marauders. So they've made a bit of a mistake there, the Night Goblins. And I did make a mistake here. It wasn't just the Black Orcs that got rid of the giant spawn. The Great Keith, let's give him credit. He finished off the Knights, and then he came into the flank of the spawn, and he's the one that finished it off. The Black Orcs taking all the credit there. So he's lost his exalted hero champion, and so the Warriors are fighting bravely against my Savage Boys. And I think the Chosen have rallied and come back in because they're still frenzied. They never lose frenzy. So they've come into the Black Orcs again. And the Black Orcs are going to beat them up again and finish off the last couple. And the Great Keith's going to help out chasing down some of those Knights and finishing them off. So the Black Orcs have done okay holding the charges from the Knights. They've done pretty well. And the Great Keith's helping them clean up the Knights. Those Savage Boys haven't done anything all game except a bit of shooting. So it's a nice shot of the Black Orcs fighting the last of the Chosen. The Arab Boys with their spider banner have done pretty well, getting rid of a spawn and an exalted hero on his steed. And there's the Chaos Warriors fighting bravely against the Savage Boys. And the Savage Boys do their best, but they keep getting pushed back. And eventually the Savage Boys will break. They're going to break those guys. And anyway, the Combat Goblins turn to face the Marauders. Couldn't break them in the flank. The Combat Goblins turn around and beat them up. And there's the last of the Knights are breaking and fleeing. That combat's still going on. The last of the Knights are breaking and fleeing. And the Great Keith's over there chasing Knights, etc. So the Chaos Warriors did pretty well. They're weapon skill 5. And they just smashed the Savage Boys, and eventually the Savage Boys break and run off the table. I was hoping they would fall back in good order, but I actually rolled pretty high, and I was a mile away from my battle standard bearer. And then these guys, these little Night Goblins, they shot at his sorcerer and killed him. So the Street 3 shooting's done pretty well here. His sorcerer had nowhere else to hide, and he only had a couple of wounds, so he must have been a level 2 or something. Anyway. And then the Combat Goblins have turned around. The Marauders charged them in the flank and really duffed their attacks. So the Combat Goblins have turned to face them, and they're going to beat them up. So there we are. The Combat Goblins have beaten up the Marauders. They've got 2 little bosses in there swinging great weapons, so that helps. So they've got a bit of punch in there with the Night Goblin bosses. And then the final combat here is my Arab Boys go into the Warriors, and we almost auto-broke them. One off auto-breaking the Warriors in the end. But the Warriors had some success, and they destroyed the Savage Boys. But that's the final shot of the table. So I think all the Knights are gone, and the characters gone, and the spawns are gone. And the Night Goblins are holding the hill. My shooty Night Goblins, and they didn't swing a blow, neither did those Savage Boys. They couldn't get in. There was too many Night Goblins in front of them in the way. And the Great Keith did okay. He could have broken and fled from those Knights that he had trouble beating up, but he came in and swept the day. So the boys did okay. It was a victory versus Chaos at 2,400 points. So that's the end. We didn't add up points or anything. We're just playing it out until there was probably maybe a turn left or something. But the Chaos Warriors did pretty well. They broke 1 unit of Savage Boys, and my Arab Boys, the Spider Banner was still pretty effective, just getting some wounds through on those giant spawns, etc., and finishing off his general. Anyway, that's the end of the Horde vs Chaos. Anyway, thanks for watching, if you made it this far, and stay tuned for the next battle report. Don't know when I'm going to get a game in now, but anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
This show is awful.
Terrible.
Disgusting.
See you next week.
Of course.